Hello gamers! I'm gonna keep the intro short since this thing is massive and I don't want to spend even more time editing it. In this video I'm gonna go over all the upcoming and teased characters, without covering any leaks because a lot of people don't want to see them. Let's go over some terminology and other info before heading to the disclaimer. Information such as rarity, path and element will be displayed on the right side of the screen, and sources will be listed in the top left if I feel like it's necessary. Blast damage is when damage is done to a main target and smaller amount of damage is done to targets adjacent to the main one. Bounce damage deals damage to random targets and can attack on target multiple times, and ode damage is damage that hits all enemies, but you probably already knew that. Now on to the disclaimer.
Please keep in mind that all of the content discussed in this video is subject to change and is not indicative of any final products. Dean might get something wrong and spread misinformation on the internet, so feel free to correct him in the comments.
There are two characters from Unreleased that have been confirmed for release. They should be the last characters from this world. Lynx Landau is the youngest Landau sibling, and was recently confirmed to be a 4-star Quantum Abundance character, who should be arriving in 1.3. Lynx was first teased in Pella's Hoyo Lab introduction and Serval's quest. We also saw her in the launch trailer and she was featured in the art of this light cone. She seems to be close friends with Pella but isn't a fan of interacting with people. She's an extreme environments explorer and she seems to be studying the environment outside of Bella Bog. Her kid might involve the drink and she is here or her fishing pole, but I can't say anything for certain since we don't have any gameplay of her yet.
Great! Let me get warmed up.
Luka is a fighter and member of Wildfire. He's a physical nihility character that's set to release in 1.2 alongside the Kafka banner in the second half. Kuka's role is to apply bleed to enemies using his skill and deal large amounts of damage using his enhanced basic attack. Luka's skill applies bleed to one target. This is separate from the bleed effect that's applied by weakness break, which means it's unaffected by break effect. His ultimate will first apply a debuff to the target that increases the damage it takes and then deals a large amount of physical damage. These abilities will also give Luka stacks of fighting will, which he can have a maximum of 4 of. He can consume 2 to launch an enhanced basic attack that deals additional damage to enemies affected by bleed. He'll be a good character in a DOT team, but I'm not sure if he would have much utility outside of that. There's a lot more to talk about when it comes to the Shanxiao characters, because well, there's a lot more characters. What am I doing with my life?
Xuan, Divination Commission.
Xuan is a 5-star quantum preservation character, who's set to be released in 1.3. She's got quite the attitude.
General?
Well?
You're a scoundrel.
But she means well. During the launch trailer we saw her inspecting an object which might be used in her kit. Other than that we don't have much info on her that could be used to speculate her kit. Maybe she just insults the enemy until they lose the will to fight.
You serve no purpose in life. Your purpose in life is to be in my stream sucking on my dick daily. Your purpose in life is to be in that chat, blowing a dick daily. Your life is nothing. You serve zero purpose. You should kill yourself now.
Are you giving me an order?
Xueyi is a judge from the 10 Lords Commission who are in charge of overseeing the deaths of the long-life species and matters surrounding the Marshal. Most notably, Xueyi is a puppet, or cyborg. It's hard to say how it works, but from what I gather her soul can inhabit the puppet body for a set duration, which she calls a wakespan. She also mentioned her sister during the quest. She seems to be working under the 10 Lords Commission as well. In terms of gameplay, we have seen a few shots of her in the launch trailer. In it we see her use dual daggers and chains made from a black and turquoise energy. If I were to guess her path, it would either be the hunt or the destruction, since she shows up in the art of light cones from both paths. Finally, there's this girl from the light cone. Subscribe for more. The description states that she's doing a cinder block smashed on chest stunt on our poor chicken girl.
I've made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment.
Additionally, there's 2 groups of important characters in the Alliance that have been mentioned and referenced multiple times. The 7 Arbiter Generals, who are the leaders of the Shanxiao Alliance, and the High Cloud Quintet, a legendary group made up of 5 warriors. Since some of these characters are already confirmed to be playable, I assume some of the other members from these groups will be in future. Starting off with the 7 Arbiter Generals, who were featured in the second Myriad Celestia trailer. The 6 generals who lead each ship of the Hexafleet are all mentioned by name in the trailer, so I'll just put them up on the screen. We don't really know much about them other than Xuan of course, but thanks to a certain chicken girl we did learn a bit more about the leader of the Yaqing.
Fierce and swift is Fei Xiao, the Merlin's Claw.
Su Shang refers to her as Madam General and she thinks that Fei Xiao is more reliable than Jingliu, but that's probably her own bias, since there isn't much info on the other generals. Let's move on to the Marshal of the Cloud Knight. She was name-dropped in the assignment, Root Out the Turpitude. She's the leader of the Shanshao Alliance and commands the Cloud Knights. Again, not much is known about her, but she's probably an emanator of the hunt given her position in the Alliance. The High Cloud Quintet is a group that's mentioned by the NPC Mr. Xian, who's over there. They were also mentioned in Jingyuan's character story. 3 characters were confirmed to be a part of the Quintet: Jingyuan, Transcendent Flash and Imbibitor Lunae.
What say you to that, young man?
Jingliu, also known as the Transcendent Flash. She's Jingyuan's teacher and she was officially revealed in the animated short of Flash. We've had a few scenes of her in recent trailers which showcase her model and some of her animations, and recently she was featured in Yanqing's companion quest. Spoiler warning if you want to experience this on your own. In the quest we go over a recording of Yanqing's encounter with Jingliu which reveals a lot. During the quest Jingliu will join Yanqing in one battle as a story character, so we can't see her info or directly control her, but from the restricted info page we have confirmation that she's a nice destruction unit, and her ultimate costs 130 energy. We also get to see her normal attack animation, and we learn that its name is Lucent Moonglow. We also see a part of her splash art in her icon. In her splash art she doesn't have her blindfold, so I assume that she either won't have it as a playable character or take it off during combat. We also see that she has a stack system with 4 slots. After the battle we see a cutscene where Jingliu launches a massive ice attack against Yanqing. The animation here is very similar to this shot from the trailer which has Jingliu without her blindfold, so I assume that this is her ultimate. We got a bit of new info about her in 1.2, but it's a little vague and I'd have to go into heavy spoiler territory, so I won't continue to discuss it. However, trying to not mention spoilers while explaining the next character is a bit impossible. The next 2 sections will have massive spoilers for the 1.2 Trailblaze mission, so I implore you to finish it first. Please skip to this timestamp if you don't want to see any spoilers for it. Dan Heng, Imbibitor Lunae, is a 5-star imaginary destruction character. Dan Feng was the previous High Elder of the Vidyadhara. After an incident known as the sedition of Imbibitor Lunae, he was imprisoned in the Shackling prison and was forced to reincarnate as punishment, leading to the birth of Dan Heng, who was banished from the Luofu. After getting chased by his past life's gay lover, he ends up on the Astral Express, which leads into the events of the story.
I'm gay for you, and you're gay for me. Spider-Man, why are you gay for that guy? I'm not! He's talking stupid!
Let's go over Imbibitor Lunae's gameplay. Also, I'm just gonna call him Lunae from now on because I'm lazy. During the second Shanshao quest we were able to control Lunae for a couple of story fights. We had access to his whole kit except for his ultimate. Lunae is an imaginary DPS whose main source of damage seems to be his basic attacks. His basic attack deals a single target hit of imaginary damage to one enemy. It's nothing special, but it can be enhanced by the use of his skill. Each use of his skill enhances his basic attack by 1 stage. The first stage deals higher single target damage. The second stage will deal blast damage and launch spears at the enemies. The third stage will conjure a water dragon to deal high amounts of imaginary blast damage. We also learned that he has a stack system. I'm unsure how stacks are obtained as they're randomly given to Lunae during the battles, but we do know what they're for. Using an enhanced basic attack will consume skill points, with the third stage attack, Full Gear and Leap, costing 3 skill points. If you have any stacks they will be consumed instead of a skill point. So if you were to have 2 stacks and used Full Gear and Leap, you would only consume 1 skill point. I would like to thank Xueyi for explaining how his stacks work, since whenever I think about Lunae I get possessed by demons of lust. The animation of his special attack during the Fantalia boss fight might be similar to his ultimate, but we'll have to wait for the 1.3 special program for confirmation. Now on to the other two members of the High Cloud Quintet. Because it's called a quintet, there has to be 5 members. Blade's character story confirmed that he was a member of the High Cloud Quintet. Although this was pretty obvious, it's nice to have confirmation. It also teased the 5th member, a Foxian lady who wielded a recurved bow, and before you get excited, she's most certainly dead. Foxians only live for about 300 to 400 years, and the events that lead to the end of the High Cloud Quintet happened around 800 years before the start of the game. So yeah, unless Danfeng made another person immortal or we get playable dead characters, I doubt she'll be available on the Warp anytime soon. The Stellarone Hunters are a group of interplanetary troublemakers. We've gotten our hands on Blade and Silver Wolf, and soon Kafka will be available. Kafka is a 5-star lightning nihility character. Her kit revolves around DOT effects. Her skill will deal blast lightning damage. If the target of your skill has a DOT effect on them, they'll immediately take a set percentage of damage from all DOT sources. Her ultimate will deal lightning damage and applies shock. Enemies who are shocked will immediately take damage based on the DOT. After unlocking one of Kafka's traces, enemies will take damage from all sources instead of just the shock status. In Kafka's splash art we could also see a lady in a suit under one of the umbrellas, as well as the legs of some other members. There isn't much that we can discern from this, so I think we should just move on. Thanks to some external media, dialogue and character stories, we've gotten a few hints about the identities of the other members, and we actually have the names of 2 members, Elio and Sam. We already know that Elio, also known as Destiny's Slave, is the leader of the Stellarone Hunters. He can predict the future, and with the help of his gang of sillies, he's been guiding the course of events to lead to the defeat of the Aeon Nook. There's also a possibility that he's a cat in Kafka's splash art, but there's no evidence to support that claim. But there's also no evidence to deny it. Order that black cat fursuit and tell your friends and family it's an Elio cosplay. Nothing's stopping you. Money, ISNT and objects, you can just sell your organs. Sam's been mentioned in some Silver Wolf's dialogue and some external media. He's incredibly efficient and ruthless in his tasks, and he's probably a robot. During Blade's recruitment there were 2 people present, Kafka and a person in colossal armor, who restricted his movements. In the Code Action event, Sam comments on the recreation of Blade's recruitment, claiming that it was accurate. And later in Silver Wolf's Story 4, she describes the 4 people who were present at her recruitment: a man, a woman, a mechanical humanoid and something else. So there's a pretty solid chance that Sam is a robot, and his kit may involve a crowd control debuff. Maybe one of his abilities functions like Svarog's hand mech, which prevents a target from taking an action, but time will tell, and this is just speculation. The Genius Society is a faction that follows the Eon of Erudition, new. There are a total of 84 members, and I highly doubt all of them are going to be playable, given that a large amount of them are dead thanks to a certain individual. But there's 2 from that group who are basically guaranteed to be playable in the future. The 2 members who aid inherited the creation of the simulated universe, Ruan and Screwllum. Within the simulated universe there's a small chance to encounter an event in occurrence rooms called Ruan. The event basically gives you an instant win button, like look at this. She's member number 81 in the Genius Society. Herta calls her a master in the field of creation. From her event dialogue and the description of the Light Cone Genius's repose, she seems to be quite fond of sweets, and her Daisen is pretty similar to the aesthetics of the Shanshao, so it's very likely that she's originally from one of the ships. Screwllum, member number 76 of the Genius Society and ruler of planet Screwllum. This robot gentleman was recently featured in Silver Wolf's companion quest. He's an excellent programmer and his hacking skills are on par with Silver Wolf. Since his design has some insectoid imagery in it, and his introduction cutscene featured a glowing butterfly, I assume some of his effects may include those. He'll probably be an Erudition character like Herta, since he is also an emanator of the Erudition. It's too early to say, but I can't wait for this dapper individual. There are many more members, but we don't have much info on them. Luka will probably be a pivotal character to a Genius Society focused arc because of her whole killing other members quirk, but other than her I don't think the others are really worth mentioning. Now let's cover some characters from the IPC since they were featured in the Light Cone, Trend of the Universal Market. We see 3 characters, a red and white haired girl, a robot looking guy with a red tie and suit, and a guy with a top hat, sunglasses and the titty window. Not much else can be gathered from the Light Cone other than the possibility of them being higher-ranking members. There was also a bounty hunter named Oakley who was mentioned in the Musketeer of Wild Wheat set. I'm not sure about how likely they are to be playable, but I thought it was worth mentioning. I forgot to mention the heads of each department at the IPC, so I'll just put them up on the screen here. If you want more info on the IPC, I'd suggest listening to the broadcast which plays when you interact with this thing on the Express. Not only does it recap recent events, but it also gives you some background information about what's happening in the wider universe. One final thing, during Kafka's trailer we saw the uniforms used by IPC guards, so some of the characters from this faction will probably look similar to them. There is a lot to talk about when it comes to this guy, and I don't want to since the Honkai Impact 3 lore gives me brain hemorrhage, and I don't want to end up in a rubber room. Damn! Void Archives was a divine key from the Honkai Impact 3 universe which took over one of Otto's solely embodies after the events of the story. After a bunch of stuff happened during the 1 and the Alien Space manga, Welt and Void Archives both ended up in the Honkai Star Rail universe where they were saved by Himiko. During his stay on the Express he helped March pull a Mariah Carey. But before the events of the game he went missing. Welt probably got tired of him. If I were to guess his kid, I think he'd definitely be an imaginary character, and he'd use some of the other divine keys in his abilities since Void Archives can replicate them. I don't think he'll be playable anytime soon though. Black Swan is the mysterious lady from the first Myriad Celestia trailer. We do know a bit about her. Based off the decor in the room and her clothing, it's clear that she's affiliated with the Remembrance, the path that the Aeon fully presides over. This is also confirmed by the description in the CN trailer, where they name-dropped her and revealed she is a Memo Keeper. Memo Keepers are members of the Garden of Recollection who collect the memories of the universe. Outside of this we have nothing. She might use cards in her attacks and might be a nice character since the Path of Remembrance is heavily associated with ice. However, I doubt we'll get any answers about her anytime soon. Maybe she'll be involved in a March 7th centric part of the story because of her ties to the Remembrance, but that's just speculation. There's also a bunch of characters mentioned in the descriptions of the assignments. I'll just give you the names and be done with it since I don't have the time to go over each of these characters individually. Loretta, a Galaxy Ranger involved in Operation Sulu. Oppenheimer, Pinman of the Candelabrophos of the Intelligentsia Guild. Barhay, Foxy and Traveler. Lark, the Memo Keeper. I think that's all of them, but probably not. If I missed someone, just put them in the comments. I'd like to give a special thank you to Aluite for helping me out with this video. He actually edited the low tier Xuan thing. The full version is in the end cards. He's a great guy and you should check out his stuff. Thank you all for staying till the end and for 800 subs. Hopefully I'll see you sooner rather than later.